This time on the Cameron Journal podcast, we're talking with Vicky from BuddyTheMonkey.com. She's a digital nomad and travel blogger, and we're talking about what it's like to be a travel blogger and a digital nomad in the age of COVID. It's a fun, fascinating interview, and if you ever wanted to see the inside world of what it's like to be a travel blogger and put great images on Instagram, then this is the interview for you. This is the Cameron Journal podcast. Let's go. This is the Cameron Journal podcast. It's a place where we talk about important things. It's a place where we bring a little slice of the news to you. And it's a place where we do important things, have important conversations. It's also things that I like to talk about. My name is Cameron Cowan, and this is the Cameron Journal podcast. Today on the Cameron Journal podcast, we are joined by the friendly human behind the Buddy the Monkey, the Traveling Monkey blog. We're going to talk about travel and travel during COVID and digital nomadism and all sorts of fun and amazing things. So welcome, Vicky, to the Cameron Journal podcast. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Excellent. So why didn't you start out? My first question is kind of how did you start your blog? So why don't you give us a little bit of background as to how you started writing about you and Buddy the Traveling Monkey?
Sure. I followed a couple of my own bloggers. I thought, that they had such interesting stories, and I loved learning about, their trips. And I've been traveling since I was a baby. Literally, I've had a passport since I was a baby, and I've traveled on my own. And one night it clicked, and I was like, hey, like I can tell stories too. I can tell people, some of the things that I've done. And I had a buddy who's a little stuffed monkey that I have, and I had already taken me, and I had pictures of him in different places. So I kind of felt like, hey, why don't I just name my blog after Buddy? I'll stand out a little bit from, the many, many other bloggers out there. And it just kind of grew from there, and it's kind of worked. People recognize the monkey. People call me Buddy sometimes. Nobody knows my name. Everybody just knows Buddy. But it's been great. I've been doing it for over 6 years now.
Yeah, when I travel, if I'm traveling by car, I have two teddy bears that I take with me and they sit in the front seat. And
That's
yes,
awesome.
people get very excited about that. Like, it's an
Yeah,
odd
it's
thing.
definitely a conversation starter.
Yeah, absolutely. And people just get like really giddy, if, they are it's like, oh my goodness, here's this car full of stuff and these two like bears sitting on top and they have like little clothes and
Yeah,
everything. Yeah, people get
yeah.
irrationally excited. It's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are maybe give us the top 5 places that you visited?
So that's really, really hard. I I mean I've been to, I think, 36 countries now. I lived in Germany for a few years. That allowed me to travel a lot in Europe, but I mean, some of my favorite countries really are Italy and Spain. And I've been to Indonesia, which has a very special place in my heart because I went to Bali and I did my own version of Eat, Pray, Love with Buddy actually. And let's see what else. Peru. Peru is awesome. Went to see Machu Picchu, and I'm actually currently in Mexico and loving it more and more every day. So Mexico is now, I think, maybe on that top 5 list. So.
Yeah, similar story. I grew up traveling because my dad works for a weather agency. And
Oh,
so,
cool.
yeah, we traveled a lot when I was a kid, and he traveled internationally more than we did when I was small. So I kind of grew up in this house of just like, oh yeah, those decorations on the wall, they came from the Maldives, and those things over there came from Austria, and that cool glassware came from Ireland, and like all just like a house full of just amazing objects from all over the world. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah, it was a very interesting sort of thing. And I've heard a lot of people who have moved to Mexico and have said It's just like awesome and amazing. So I'm not surprised that Mexico's quickly climbed into the top, the top list. So
Yeah, everyone is super friendly here. We've traveled around to a few cities now, so we've gotten to know different regions, and but everywhere we've gone, everyone's been super friendly. The It's just so much cheaper to live here than in the US. The cost of living is much, much less. Um, where we house sit, but sometimes in between house sits, if we need to get like an Airbnb or something, it's just so much cheaper. The food is amazing and again costs a lot less. So um, yeah, we can see why so many people end up living out here.
yeah, and I imagine if you're from Miami, you probably speak Spanish, which makes it super easy to get around.
Yes, yes, I am fluent in Spanish. Even though, each country has their own different like slang and sometimes the dialects and stuff. So I know people know I'm not from here, but we can obviously get along and speak, have conversations. So
Yeah, you can make yourself heard, which is nice. So,
yeah.
yeah, absolutely. What is it like running a blog about travel in a time when nobody can go anywhere? How's that been? How's that working
Not
for you?
It's not. I'll be honest, it's not. My page views for my website, were steadily increasing over the last few years, especially in the last 2 years when I really, really focused on my website and producing like really great content. And then, the Rona hit and just traffic tanked, which is understandable. People aren't searching for, things to do in, whatever city and stuff. Everyone was, staying at home, which is, what they're supposed to be doing. And yeah, my website, the little bit of revenue I was making off of it from like affiliate links and ads and stuff, that has just totally out the window. But, things will eventually pick up. And so that's just something you have to deal with. You got to be flexible, and adapt.
Yeah.
Written a few different kinds of articles now, maybe focusing a little bit more on like road trips or things you can do close to home. So that and like hiking, that kind of thing, because people are going outside more now. So yeah, it's just about adapting to the situation really. But yeah, the website hasn't been doing well.
Yeah, I feel your pain. I went into 2020 with 3 books out. My magazine was growing. We were doing very, very well. Then the Rona hit. My short story collection and major publishing went nowhere because the pandemic was happening. And by the end of the year, our
Yeah.
magazine was closing. So I completely
Oh, I'm
understand.
so sorry.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
it's
totally
been
understand
tough.
where you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
tough to just watch the traffic steadily decline as the months went by. It was just
Oh
depressing.
yeah, I had a few I had a few days where I was just sobbing.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. Yeah, like I had a few really bad days. And my boyfriend, who's a sweetheart, he, talked me off the ledge. And now I've kind of made my peace with it, and I know that things will, I don't know if if things will ever really go back to how they were before, just as far as people traveling differently in that kind of situation. But I think eventually things will, and we'll just go from there.
Yeah, so where are you excited to go after COVID has eased?
I would really love to get back to Europe. They and like I mentioned before, I lived in Germany for 3 years, so I've traveled around Europe quite a bit, but there's still so much I'd love to see. I haven't really done much in Eastern Europe, so I would love to go to like um, just some of those countries are also a lot more budget friendly, which is good for us. But they have had way more lockdowns as far as COVID goes, a lot more strict rules and things like that. So once COVID has kind of gotten under control, I would love to eventually make my way over there.
No, that definitely. I think all of us have the list of things, places we want to go, things we want to do after COVID. So I think once it's relatively safe to travel and go out and about,
Yeah.
yeah, good luck getting a plane ticket. Everything's going to be booked. Like, everyone's going to want
Yeah.
to go everywhere. Like,
Yeah, well, we'll see how ticket prices are too, because ticket prices have gone drastically down. Um, so we'll see things pick back up once people can start flying again.
yeah. So you mentioned that you were working on some kind of local travel options. Walk us through what kind of local travel, socially distanced travel options we have right now. What can we do since we're kind of stuck?
So it's funny because I've actually always been an advocate of, travel, see what's in your own backyard. And I think a lot of times, before Corona hit, we always wanted to go somewhere else and something else, something more exotic. In reality, our own backyards, sometimes we neglect because we're like, oh, we'll get to it eventually. Now we have that option. It's the only option. So,
Right.
parks nearby, or even if it's just an hour and a half drive away, it could be a new town, and mostly outdoor activities, because obviously we want to keep in mind being socially distant and all of that. But, there's some have great options. There's like some breweries and stuff that I know of that are doing like outside tastings, things. So there are options. You just have to count and research.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I think that is. I think everyone's kind of having to like think a little bit outside the box, especially if you're in an area that has better weather. It's pouring. It's the time of year when it's pouring rain here, so
Yeah.
we can't go out even when there's no pandemic because it's pouring rain. But what's the weirdest part about being a travel blogger?
I think the worst part is people don't really understand it. Still, if you think about it in the scope of things, it's a relatively new career, just in the last, 15 years or so. So like even my dad, he has no idea what I do.
Yeah.
He's always like, "Are you just typing on your computer?" I'm like, "Yeah, Dad, I'm just typing." But yeah, people don't really understand. People think, or they lump it in with the whole influencer term, which can sometimes have a negative connotation of people just trying to get free meals or stay in a hotel for free. But there's more to it. There's me as a blogger, I'm writing times 2,000 word articles. You're taking photos, you're doing editing, you're posting to social media, and then keeping engaged. You don't just post. Then if people comment, you're following up and working with tourism boards, and they have expectations if you work with a city, and they want things done in a timely manner. So I think that's the weirdest part. I think is people don't realize that it's actually a lot of work. It's not just sitting on a beach, drinking, so
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the thing about influencers that I think like people don't understand. Like I obviously kind of do the same thing, but I'm in like the news commentary sort of space. I kind of talk about the world around us and things that interest me, like you.
mhm,
And
mhm.
there's most of my family has no clue what I do. Like when I published my first book, that helped because I could like put it in their hands and be like, this is what I've been
Yeah.
working on, sort of thing. But like
Mhm.
there's this whole side of being an influencer that's like, yeah, it's like I have 4 social media profiles to keep up. Like, I have
Mhm.
social media posts I have to schedule. There's kind of all this stuff to do. Like, you don't grow a following by just laying about.
Right,
It's
exactly. There's
yeah. I
technical
mean,
aspects of the website. I am not a technical person at all. And I
yeah.
remember one time I was just trying to make a table, just a table to show some stuff on one of my articles. And it took me all day. I was crying by the end of the day. not figure out how to make this stupid table.
Oh no,
So
yeah,
there's
from like
technical
20.
aspects of it too that, yeah, it's hard work.
Yeah, no, from 2012 to today, I have learned more about WordPress than I ever wanted to know. Um, I've learned how to do photo editing, video editing, audio editing. I've
Hmm.
like bought a whole photo studio, great DSLR, like all of this stuff. I've spent hours on YouTube learning book layout, InDesign, all this sort of thing. Like just
I feel
all
your
of this
pain.
stuff.
I feel your
Yeah,
pain.
yeah. So, like, if you can't afford to hire someone to do these things, your next best option is to learn how to do it yourself. And
Exactly.
so,
And when you're
yeah,
starting out,
you
you
end
don't
up
have
just
that budget, so you really do have to learn it all yourself.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It was just absolutely insane. And even like the pretty thin bikini girls who post hot
Oh, I
Instagram
hate
photos,
those. I hate those.
I hate. Yeah, it's like you have to hate them, but at the same time, though, they also have the same struggles that we do. Like they're also the ones spending 4 hours to get that one popular picture on Instagram, sort of thing that looks
Yeah.
effortless, but we all know is not. Like, yeah,
Hmm.
it's a little insane. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I noticed on your website you had some stuff about digital nomadism. How did you get started doing that? I suppose it's
So,
tied with the blog, but
yeah,
specifically,
it
how did
is.
you decide to do that?
So basically, I, when I started my blog, I obviously got in touch with other bloggers and through Facebook groups and stuff like that. And I saw a
Yeah.
lot of them were digital nomads and you see them traveling all over. And it's funny because at first I used to think I could never do that. Like I like having my home base, I like having my apartment, I like my couch, I like my mattress. It's just something that I didn't think would happen. And then as the years went by, I started working at a job that allowed me to work remotely 2 days out of the week, which was great. I would take off on a Wednesday night, catch a flight, go somewhere. I would still work Thursday and Friday during the day from my hotel, but then those nights and Saturday and Sunday, I would just go out and explore. And I really loved that idea of being able to work remotely. And then it was just like, you know what? I don't want to do this 2 days out of the week. Like, I want to do this like full time. And my blog at that point was still just a hobby. But I thought, if I can quit my job, then I can focus all of my energy on my blog and it'll grow and it'll provide all the money I need to live. And that was my dream. My apartment lease was coming up, so I was like, this is a sign. Let's just do it. And I went into my job and I went up to my boss and I told him I was going to quit. And he told me no. And I was like, what? And he was actually really cool. He understood as a businessman, wanting for me to grow my own business and everything. So he was really cool about it. And we actually worked out that I would remain with the company, but on a part time basis, and I would be completely remote. So I have been working part time for this company remotely for 3 years now. And it's great. It gives me the flexibility to travel. And it's not a lot of money because it's part time, but I don't have rent to pay. Rent and mortgage is the biggest expense for anybody. So
Yeah.
just, and then, I started doing the house sitting as well. So that gives me a place to stay rent free. And so I look for longer house sits, so I'm not, having to move like every 2 or 3 days or whatever. But that's how I'm in Mexico right now. I'm doing a month-long house sit. Um, I still work, but at night or on the weekends, I'm able to explore a new place. And yeah, so far being a digital nomad has been amazing. I don't, People always ask me when I'll stop, and I really don't have the answer to that. I think eventually, obviously, I'll like to settle down somewhere, probably in Florida. But as of now, I'm having a good time. So yeah.
Yeah. I had a taste. of the digital. I've had a taste of the digital nomad life a couple times, but this past summer with basically I traveled for 6 months straight was my first chance to like do it long, kind of for a long period of time.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say it kind of poisoned the idea. I was when I hit the 6 month mark and I was ready to get off the road.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm ready to not be in suitcases and all this sort of thing. And I mean I was driving so I had like all the creature comforts, but
Yeah.
it was still like I'm ready to be off the road now. Like I'm done.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not for everyone. And, I've been fortunate that like the house sits that I've done have all been, pretty great and haven't really had any issues. I do, like I said, I try and find like house sits that are at least a month long. And when I'm in the States, I do have my car as well. I drive from one house sit to another. So I am able to pack a few things. Sometimes I bring my own kitchen stuff. Because not everybody has the same kitchen, layout or spices,
Yeah.
Um,
True. Yeah.
but then, after about a month, you kind of like, okay, I'm ready to go to the next place. So, but yeah, it isn't for everybody. And there are days where I have my bad days where it's like, I wish I had my own mattress, like I'm staying at a place and their mattress is rock hard. I'm like, damn it, this sucks. So
Yeah, what do you? But that goes into the next question. What do you think are the biggest challenges of being a digital nomad? Because I could name a few, but you go first.
So yeah, I mean, there is the case where if I did end up in a house that was super comfortable or whatever, then and I was stuck there for a whole month, that would be pretty bad. I really only had like one house that wasn't spectacular, and it was because they had birds. And I knew that going into the house because obviously you speak with the homeowner beforehand. But they made it seem like the birds were, oh, if they get a little loud, just throw the towel over the cage and they'll be quiet. That was not the case, and they were screeching like the entire time. But luckily, that in particular was a short house sit because it was just something I needed to fill a gap. So I was only there like 3 days, but I swear I felt like blood coming out of my ears. But I mean, really, the worst part is if unexpected expenses come up as a digital nomad, especially now during the extra income that I had from my blog has dried up. So like if I need to get new tires because of all the road tripping I'm doing, like, or I need to go to the dentist, I don't have dental insurance, like little things that pop up. It's the money situation can sometimes be a little bit harder. But as far as like finding where to stay and like that kind of thing, I've actually been pretty lucky. I've never been homeless during the 3 years that I've been a digital nomad. So it's been working so far.
Yeah, I found the extra expenses part to be the most difficult part to deal with. It's really hard to like control expenses on the road because you need something, you don't necessarily have time to like wait around for it, or sometimes it's not practical to go to the cheapest place because it's super far away from where you are,
Mm-hmm.
and that can be very time consuming. So I definitely, feel you on all of that. And yeah, and at one point my car died in Knoxville, Tennessee, and I had to buy a new car, so that was fun.
Oh no, I've had car trouble too, and it is
Yeah,
no fun. So
yeah. It was car shopping during a pandemic, going to like 5 different car dealerships, in and out of cars, all this sort of thing, and then of course they quit making cars and there were very few used cars. And
yeah.
it was crazy. It was just crazy, crazy, crazy. But yeah, the and I also feel you on the whole mattress comfort sort of thing. I'm a big dude. I'm 6 foot. I weigh about 350. So having a sturdy bed frame is most essential. And I've definitely been in some situations where that was not necessarily the case. And it was a bit nerve wracking.
Yeah. I think for me another big
Yeah.
thing is the kitchen. I am half Puerto Rican. When I cook, I have a lot of different spices I use, and
Right.
there's just, you go to a house and all they have is literally salt and pepper, and it's like, what? How do they cook anything? So,
I know, that was the first thing I bought. I got it. I had the kitchen bag,
uh-huh,
and it had, all the like, because I'm the same way. I like food that tastes.
right.
Because I'm from Colorado, so I know what food that tastes like.
Uh-huh,
And yeah, same thing. Yeah, you have to bring your own stuff because not everybody's going to keep 5 spices powder around,
right.
or even garlic salt in some cases.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah. And I travel
yeah,
with
super basic
a pizza
things.
cutter. I literally travel with a pizza cutter
Yes.
because not everyone has one in their kitchen. So I ordered off Amazon my little pizza cutter, and I have that in my bag everywhere I go.
Yes, I have what's called an ulu. It's a curved knife that came from Inuit tribes in Alaska. They
Hmm.
use it to cut blubber off of whales. It is, if there's only one knife you can bring with you,
Mm-hmm.
it's the one to bring because it's small. It's only maybe 6 inches
Mm-hmm.
across, but it's also round, so you can cut meat, cut vegetables, cut a pizza, anything you want. It will
Interesting.
do,
I'll have to look into that.
and you can just like, yeah, you can just like wrap it up in a cloth, stuff it in a bag, and away you
Mm-hmm.
go. Done and dusted.
Good to
So
know.
yeah, like now if I were to do it, it'd be like I could survive with like a decent walk and an ulu. I can cook everything. Like I can do it all.
Awesome.
It's fun. Yeah, so yeah, ULU, and they sell them on Amazon,
Okay,
and definitely go grab one of those.
cool.
How do you think COVID is going to change digital nomadism? Do you think people are going to get off the road and give up and go home? Do you think it will increase? What is your feeling?
I think it's going to be one of the actual good things that come out of COVID. I think many businesses out there that were always so hesitant to let people work from home, now being forced to, will be more open to the idea of people, maybe staying working from home, or like I was doing previously, working remotely 2 days out of or whatever. Um, so, before Corona, I used to always tell people, talk to your boss, ask them if you can just do it like on a trial basis for a month and see how things go, so that they can see you're still being productive, you're still meeting your quotas and all of that. And then Corona hit and everybody had to do it. And people figured out a way, people always figure out a way. So I think it actually will help the cause of digital nomad, as long as people don't screw it up. Like you do your work, don't, get shown, on your Zoom, drinking a margarita or whatever. Um, but yeah, I think it'll help the digital nomad experience.
Yeah, I mean, I hadn't really thought of that. Yeah, with so many people working from home now, there's probably a lot of people that are, at a minimum, going to move someplace cheaper, and at a maximum, decide to take off for a while and, do the travel thing and all this sort of thing. So, yeah, that kind of makes sense. And for those that are doing it, and this is something I've enjoyed, it's so much easier to find work from home positions
Yes.
now. Like, there's so many things that's like, oh, this is work from home, remote. Like, and before it was such a
Yeah.
challenge, and now you go through different like Media Bistro and things like that, and it's like half the positions are remote, and it's like, this is fantastic.
Yeah,
Like,
and I think a lot of businesses, like I said, that they were hesitant before, they're they're seeing the benefits too, like costs, like they're not paying for light bills anymore because everyone's sitting at home, so like there's benefits for
right.
businesses too that are more willing to let their people work remotely. So yeah, I think it's definitely going to change the work environment for sure, like in for the long term, not just these last 10-ish months or whatever. I think it could lead to a lot of change.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's going to be a lot of positions where, rather than the question of being like, oh, should this be for work from home, I think it's now going to be, why couldn't this be done from home?
Exactly. Yeah.
And it opens the talent
Hmm.
pool to a whole group of people that you might never especially if you don't live in like New York, San Francisco, LA, in the case of the United States. Like, if your company's not in one of those three cities, your talent pool is different. If you're willing to let them work remote, all of a sudden you can have anybody from anywhere. Totally changes the game.
Yeah.
Totally changes the game. So, well, excellent. Yeah. That is awesome. Well, now's the part of the show where we do your plugs. So, why don't you let us know where we can find you on Twitter and online?
So online, it is buddythetravelingmonkey.com, as well as, most of my social media. I'm on Instagram. I'm on TikTok, which is fairly new, but it's all Buddy the Traveling Monkey. And let's see, what else? Twitter is traveling1223. That one I couldn't, the Twitter handle, it's limiting. So, but 1223, December 23rd is actually when I bought Buddy at a football game. Many, many years ago. So, but yeah, if you just look up Buddy the Traveling Monkey on YouTube too, we have a YouTube channel. So yeah, Buddy the Traveling Monkey. That's all you need to know.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll link in the show description. Well, thank you so much for coming on the Cameron Journal podcast. That's all for this episode of the Cameron Journal podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Visit us online at CameronJournal.com. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and I love to talk to my followers and listeners, so please feel free to get us on social media at Cameron Callan on Twitter, and we'll see you next time on the Cameron Journal podcast.